Hello, ActiveSage here on the Sage channel, and on this week's Space Engineers update, they've gone ahead and made it possible for you to make deathmatch scenarios. Not team deathmatch, unfortunately, but deathmatch scenarios nonetheless. The way you set that up is very simple. In your world, you press U as long as you have it set so you can do scenarios, and then right here you have a lives limit. You can actually click the pull down and select lives limit, click the little star right next to it, and set the number of lives, and then you set the message that will appear if you run out of those lives. We're going to click cancel on that, and we're actually just going to press escape on this because this is still set up just like last week, so if you don't click the refresh button at the bottom, it doesn't save it. And then for win condition, we have all others lost right over here, so that once everyone else loses, voila, the game is over, and whoever is still alive wins. Now, how do you set up spawning for this? You could just have two spawn points right next to each other and have people just spawn at whichever one, which could lead to people spawning behind each other. Not exactly ideal. Well, they've kind of thought of that. What they've done is if we were to fly over here, down to one of these spawn platforms I set up, and look at the settings for a spawn bay, or a med bay, we can scroll down and you see at the very bottom, ownership assignment. So currently it's set to nobody. And as long as you have this checked, whoever spawns at this first will then own it. It automatically sets the ownership of this respawn bay to whoever spawns at it. Now, mind you, this only works if you're in a scenario mode, and this option will only show up if you have scenario mode toggled on and you're in creative mode. Another thing they've added today is an option. If we come over here and switch to this, we'll go to the projector. You can see that if we scroll down, they've added a new area right here as well for spawn projection and instant building. So this is also a scenario only thing, and you can see to the right of it, it also has ship blocks, 1804 out of 1804. I've set that here, so you can only spawn a ship with X amount of blocks available, and you can do the control left click here and set the number if you like to that way, and you can do number of projections. So we could click spawn projection, it'll spawn in a craft right there. You can't actually tell it. Mind you, keep in mind that it'll spawn in the craft as whatever the blueprint was set owned as. So this blueprint is set to be owned by nobody, but if I had this other fighter here, the original diamond fighter, and if I'd spawned that one, it was actually set to be owned by me, and it'll actually spawn in still owned by that same person, except for it'll usually spawn in, even if I am still playing, it'll spawn in owned by a dead person, which means the ship will be unusable. Let's delete that, and we'll go back to that. Now, the number of spawns available will not have actually gone down because we are currently in creative. We're not in a scenario. It'll actually stay at that. Oh yeah, spawns remaining. You can see 1 of 2 actually. It is showing that, so we can spawn it again. And now we can delete that spawn in one, and you'll be able to see that if we go back to the projector, now it says 0 out of 2. Now we're going to go ahead and reset that. There we go. And so now it's reset so that once we're actually in the proper world, once we reload this as a scenario world, that won't have issue. And I do have an antenna over there also set to be owned by me and shared with all. And I'm also going to point out that you can have some finicky issues with these spawning systems here. The way I've set this up so that, let's say, a player in the actual deathmatch mode can't go ahead and change this, is I have the ownership set to me and no share, but because this is a button panel, I have this anybody can use thing checked on. And then same with these 2 connectors, because this is actually going from a large ship over to a small ship with a projector on it. I have those 2 projectors set to be owned by me with no share, and same with the projector itself. So this thing here, the 2 connectors and the projector are all owned by me. So once we get into the scenario, it'll be counted as owned by somebody who is not no longer playing. Even if I am playing, it'll say owned by ActiveSage, dead. But luckily, because the buttons still work, we have this button set up here, so it'll actually trigger the spawn, because you can go ahead and set these up so you can grab your projector, drag it down there, and click the spawn projection right at the bottom right there. Pretty useful stuff. Anyway, let's actually go ahead and demonstrate this really quickly. So I'm going to exit this world. I'm not going to save it. Please note, wherever you save it, it'll sort of dictate where your first starting view will be. So if, let's say, I saved it up here, that's where the starting view will be, and I'll demonstrate that really quickly. By the way, just as a reminder, the settings to be able to edit all this stuff is under edit settings and scenario editor mode right there. You have to toggle that on, and I don't think there's anything else here. And also you want to disable respawn ships button right there. You also want to make sure that's checked on. That way it'll prevent respawn ships from spawning in. Anyway, let's go ahead and go back out of that. Let's go to a new world, click the scenario button. Wait for that to load up. Select our update thing, our deathmatch update show. Go ahead and set it to a friends only match. And we're going to have it set to 2 people because right now we can't have groups, so it's best if we just have 1 person for each spawn point. And then we're going to go ahead and click OK. By the way, I did find that if you click another person's world and click publish, it still gives you this option as if you want to overwrite it. Hopefully, good. Yes, good. It still gives that. It's smart enough to know that we're not actually the owner of it, but it's still a bit scary nonetheless to even have that message pop up. Anyway, let's go ahead and we're all set and load it up. And today I've actually gone ahead and started up the second Sage camera system, so we can actually see what it'll see. And what I'm going to do with it is just go ahead and do a join world, because I found trying to join through Steam doesn't work. I can try it once more and do a join game, but as you can see it just brings me to the desktop, so you have to actually do a join, find the games. Let's do a refresh on that. There we go. You can see my game right there. Joining in. And I'm in it, and of course this is now what you should have seen, or what you will see if you're just joining a game. You can see the background stays just the same, and I can't do anything, I can't change anything, so back to the other computer. And right here, now we can actually go ahead, change those time limits. I've already gone over all that, so let's just start this up. And if you look in the background on this screen, you'll see what I was talking about, how it shows wherever you saved from. So let's go ahead and start, and now you can see it's loading in. Second Sage is going ahead and loading in as well, and you can see it's got its spawn point there. Oh, it's actually done some finicky loading, but you can see now we can choose spawn points, and if I was to go ahead and choose one of these with Second Sage, so let's go with the default one, and respawn there, and now refresh this list on the main one. Oops, well, what I meant to click was refresh. The other one would have disappeared, because now these respawn points, as I said, are now going to be owned by somebody. And now we can go ahead and go through the actual mission, which is kill the other person. And let's go ahead and grab our weapon, take that out. Unfortunately, Second Sage is a sitting duck, and the accuracy on this is pretty much non-existent. But what I can do is go ahead and spawn in one of these drones. So I press that button, it spawns in. Once again, if I press K on that, it now says access denied. I can go to this because we do own that, but you can see access is denied to all this stuff, including the projector, so you can't try to switch it out to have your own blueprint spawned in or anything silly like that. And now, unfortunately, because this was not owned by anybody, I can't actually control it. It's not, I can't find a way to easily set it to be owned by whoever's spawning it in right now. So I have to actually go into here and take ownership of it. There we go. And now I own it, and now I can fly it over there and attack the Second Sage base. And this is where that little antenna I have stuck in there comes in handy, that neutral antenna, because now this means that my signal will relay from my character, and because that antenna is within 200 meters, it'll relay to that, and then it'll relay it off as far as it needs to go. And has this stopped moving? Oh dear, I think I forgot to put uranium in the little light drones that are supposed to circle about. Anyway, you can see now that I'm in control of this, and I can go ahead and begin attacking Second Sage, and I can just chew through the metal here. Can't I? No, I can't, because they've added a new option that you can't really see in this setup. Usually if you go to the... Oh, actually, you can see it. So if you go to the info tab when you're in control of a ship, station, large ship or small ship, or a station, you'll see that down at the bottom right there's a little check button. If that is turned on, it can be damaged. If that's turned off, it cannot be damaged. So that's what's going on here with this station, is it cannot be damaged at all. Now, unfortunately, I did just find a little gap there, and I killed Second Sage through the gap. And it'll go ahead, and if we look at its screen now, you can see there is only the one respawn point. And actually, I've managed to fly the ship almost into its view there, as if it's gloating. That's a bit odd, isn't it? But yeah, you can see it's only got one respawn point, so we can go ahead and tell it to respawn. And just to demonstrate, I'm going to disconnect from this really quickly, and I am going to go ahead and press the other spawn button there. Once again, it'll spawn this ship in. I'm going to take ownership and move it, just to demonstrate that we cannot keep spawning these in. It'll hit that limit, and you'll no longer be able to spawn those in. There we go. And take control, and let's just drive it forward, get it out of here. There we are. And even though it's still showing that, once I come down here and press that spawn button again, nothing will happen. And you see I've pressed T on it. Nothing is happening. Anyway, that's about it for this update. I will like to point out that you do have your win and loss messages, so we can fly over here and just finish off Second Stage again. Sorry, my little duplicate. Dear. And you know, I got the messages set up and all that jazz. And I would like to take a moment to point out another thing they've done today. is just that if you go ahead and look at Marek's blog, they've gone ahead and released a little bit of something talking about planets. And I'm just going to go over that really quickly, just read through it like I usually do. In fact, you know what, I'm going to do another video on this just real quickly to go over all the details, just read it out. But what I will say is planets currently are looking to be 30 to 50 kilometers in size, have 8 to 10 kilometer moons, have grass on them, trees on them, foliage and stuff like that, and that there'll be station blocks that'll actually act like they do in medieval engineers, where the base will be sturdy, but if something is separated from the pieces of the station touching the actual planetary ground, it'll actually begin to fall, because everything will be affected by planetary gravity. Stations, or not stations, but those types of stations, large ships, small ships, and of course everything that usually is. Anyway guys, that's it for this update. I hope this was informative and somewhat interesting, and as I said, I'm going to be putting out another video just going over that blog post in more detail. Yeah, that's it guys. Thanks a bunch for watching, and I shall see you guys next time. Ta-ta.